But I think entrepreneurs in all sectors, in all industries, they should be familiar with some basics of AI, what it can do for them, how can they use it, and how they can leverage in making their firms more efficient and grow faster.
Let's hear from the experts about how artificial intelligence is transforming the world of business. I'm Katie Gaertner, and this is Unsupervised. Hey Business Badgers, today I'm sitting with Martin Ganco, an entrepreneurship professor here at the Wisconsin School of Business. Martin is also the academic director of the Gaertner Center for Entrepreneurship here. He earned his PhD from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign in Business Administration and Strategic Management. And his research focuses on how organizational and knowledge contexts shape entrepreneurship and innovation. So Martin, thank you for joining me. Let's talk about entrepreneurship and AI.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the kind introduction.
So we need to lay the groundwork first. What even is entrepreneurship? Why is it a major at the business school?
So entrepreneurship is a study of entrepreneurial opportunities. It's a study of exploitation, recognition, implementation of entrepreneurial opportunities. And this could be, usually it's through the creation of new firms. But sometimes it can be also within existing organizations. So for instance, large organizations are sometimes interested in developing new products or new services or new units within their organizations, and sometimes those entrepreneurial skills are relevant there as well. And why it's a program in a business school is because it's valued. It's a valued skill in new companies and in existing companies. It's a driver of growth. So economic growth is driven by entrepreneurship to a great extent, and by innovation as well. And it's also interest in entrepreneurship is growing. We have more and more students every year in our programs and certificates. So there is great interest in entrepreneurship in the school, in the university, and also in the community as well.
Great. Okay. Now that we know what it is, how is AI being used in entrepreneurship?
So AI, it's an interesting question, and right now, AI is just in sort of nascent stages in the context of entrepreneurship. And I would say there are two big areas in how AI is being used in entrepreneurship. One area is helping to maybe recognize and discover new trend and new market gaps. So it's this interaction between the founders and the AI helps to maybe discover new opportunities. And there's also some research on, and I'll talk more about that, on how AI may help in generating new ideas and sort of figuring out new products or new services. And maybe the second area is AI is helping entrepreneurs to be more efficient. So there is a way of automating certain activities and certain processes within the firm, so that it helps firms to be more efficient and grow faster. So I would say these are the two big areas right now.
That's exciting. So what are some of the most transformative AI developments that you've observed in entrepreneurship recently that you're really excited about?
Mm-hmm. So there's quite a bit of research coming out, and I think for me the most exciting area is how humans and AI interact. Mm-hmm. And for instance, one of the recent papers has discovered that if we are relying only on human founders, then the ideas are very novel and very creative, but many times the ideas cannot be implemented very easily. So when AI is collaborating with founders, then there is sort of this reality check that can come very early. So there is more of a feedback, and people are coming up with ideas which are higher quality and then can be commercialized. They're sort of more viable. So they're still creative, but at the same time, they can be more viable. There's also some research on how AI helps to prioritize certain sort of ideas or projects or tests. So it helps in entrepreneurship. We sometimes talk about like A/B testing and various ways of how the hypothesis about what customers really want needs to be validated, and AI is helping to prioritize and figure out what are the better tests that need to be run with the customers and so on. So it's I think more limited to specific tasks, because obviously we do not have a general AI at this stage, and we may never have that. But it's in certain specific tasks it's being very used, and I think the use of AI will be growing in those areas.
Okay. All right. So can you share with me some examples, maybe some specific examples of how AI is changing the way companies and entrepreneurs compete and how this is disrupting traditional business models?
So as I said, the second area I think in how AI is shaping and changing entrepreneurship is in providing automation and providing resources which in sort of before entrepreneurs had to rely on outsourcing or some external partners. So some of these things are becoming automated. So for instance, services or hiring, recruitment, screening. So in the human capital, human resources space, for instance, is one area which AI has been adopted quite heavily. And I think it's also some of the research is showing that there are pros and cons. So there are some upsides. It can be automated, but at the same time, there are also downsides because AI can replicate or amplify biases that are there because it's just trained on human data anyway. So some of the biases that exist in human sort of processes will be replicated and amplified in AI as well. So that's something that people need to pay attention to. But I think it's really improving the efficiency with which entrepreneurs can operate. And now we can have a company which can get running much faster because many of the activities and processes can be automated.
Okay, so you found that entrepreneurs can be faster to market with the support of offloading some of these more mundane tasks.
Precisely, exactly. Okay. And I think that will grow over time when it comes to marketing, when it comes to HR, maybe finance, accounting. So more and more of these tasks, I think over time will be automated, which is allowing entrepreneurs to focus on things which really matter, how to create products or services that are adding value to their customers.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that leads me to my next question, which is how do you see job roles in this entrepreneurship space transforming in the near future in response to AI? And also, what skills do you see budding entrepreneurs at the business school needing to develop?
So that is an excellent question. Entrepreneurship in general requires very broad skills, and entrepreneurs are masters of all sort of of all trades a little bit. And I think what AI is changing in this space is it's requiring entrepreneurs to be more familiar with what's available and what are also some of the pitfalls that AI is bringing. So I think it's sort of maybe not completely changing the landscape, but adding more skills that are maybe entrepreneurs in all areas need to be aware of. And of course, if they are operating in a space or in an industry where AI is the main thing to compete on, then of course they need more technical skills related to AI. But I think entrepreneurs in all sectors, in all industries, they should be familiar with some basics of AI, what it can do for them, how can they use it, and how they can leverage in making their firms more efficient and grow faster.
Okay. Have you seen any entrepreneurs apply AI or use AI in an innovative way that surprised you? Or
so I think maybe the more surprising ways of how AI is used for idea generation, so in this kind of creative element. And for instance, one of the latest research that came out that was a little bit surprising to me is that when we all are familiar with ChatGPT and sort of large language models, and they're being used for editing documents and helping with presentations. And there's a recent paper that showed that if entrepreneurs are doing this, so now everybody can have a more polished presentation and more polished documents and everything sort of looks great, then it's actually harder for investors to distinguish what are the good ideas and what are the bad ideas, because now everything's on sort of superficially, everything looks more polished, and it becomes a little bit harder to disentangle what are really some good ideas. So I think that's kind of a surprising research. And it also resonates with us as professors, as faculty. If students are using large language models for their papers, now it's becoming much harder to grade. And, of course, that's why we have to think about ways of discouraging that or figuring out ways of evaluating that would not involve these, not allow or somehow figure out that they would not be using these large language models, because it's harder then to tell who is doing a quality job. And it's the same for entrepreneurs. If everybody has a polished presentation, it's becoming a little bit harder to figure out. So
interesting. So that polish was a signal to investors that this entrepreneur had things together, so to speak, and was ready to run a business, but now it's
exactly. So it could be, sometimes it's a lot of uncertainty, and maybe not all investors have very familiar knowledge of the focal space, especially as some of the investments are moving online and you have all the crowdfunding and all of these things. So the quality of the presentation sometimes is a signal of the quality of the entrepreneur and how much their effort putting into it. But if it's outsourced, if AI is doing all of those things, that signal is a little bit noisier and harder to use.
Oh, that's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that changes the industry going forward.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like our students to know about AI and entrepreneurship before we wrap up with a fun question?
Yes. So it's a very exciting area, and we are very interested in students who are doing research or doing work or starting companies in that space. So I would just like to encourage everyone that this is a brave new world, and it's very exciting to do work in AI space, in entrepreneurship. And it's just the future will tell how successful many of these businesses will be, but I think the future is bright.
I agree. That's very exciting. All right, so we're going to wrap up with a fun question. If you could offload one task or responsibility to AI or robotics and never have to be responsible for it again, what bot would you invent, Martin?
Yes, so I think that bot is already invented, but we're not allowed to use it, which is for grading. I would really love, grading is something which is, I would say every professor hates, and if I could outsource all of my grading to AI, that would be very helpful. But of course, it's part of our job, and we need to do the evaluation. So we cannot really use ChatGPT or similar large language models to do the grading. But reading the same essay or the same assignment, 50 or more times is not the most exciting part of our job.
It can get a little
so
tiring.
It does, yes.
Well, I would love to have a grading bot that could summarize, and take the headlines so that then I could differentiate my students and understand who was struggling and who wasn't, but I wouldn't have to read the same essay 100 times. So, well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me today and chat. I've learned so much about entrepreneurship. It's an exciting space. I'm looking forward to seeing what's on the horizon. So thanks for the time.
Thanks for the opportunity. The pleasure is mine.
Great.
Thank you.
Unsupervised is brought to you by the Wisconsin School of Business. It's written and hosted by Katie Gaertner, with sound editing and production by Derek Schneider and Billy Cardot.